Hi, my name's Abby. I'm a therapist and a wellbeing practitioner. I'm going to talk today about some things that you can do if you're struggling with your thoughts. So, if you're getting stuck in catastrophizing or ruminating, and you're having kind of worry based thoughts or negative self talk. So, things like what if my job's affected by the COVID-19 pandemic? What if my relationship doesn't work out? I'm not good enough. I'm not a good enough mother. I'm not good enough at my job. These are all the kind of thoughts that we can get stuck listening to, and they can distract us from the things that we want to be able to do. Now, I always think it's really useful to understand why the brain works in the way that it does. So, back when we were cave people, the brain's job was basically to keep us alive. So, the brain evolved to have a danger spotter element to it. So, telling us that everything that could possibly go wrong. So, is that dangerous animal a threat to me? Is that tribe a threat to my tribe? Am I going to be rejected from my own tribe, for example? The brain tells us everything that could go wrong in order for us to prepare. Now, although the brain has obviously evolved an immense amount, we still have that danger spotter element to it. So we still have the part of the brain that's telling us everything that could potentially go wrong. Not everything that's true, but everything that could potentially go wrong. So all of these thoughts related to our relationships, our job, our sense of well-being, our sense of who we are, the brain tells us everything that can go wrong with it. Now, if we acknowledge that the brain is actually doing its job and it's working in the way that it should do, that leads us to our first kind of strategy, really, and that's thanking the mind. So if we notice when we're having a worry-based thought or a kind of worst case scenario thought, and we acknowledge, okay, this is the brain doing its job, and thank the mind. So even say to yourself, thank you, mind, I understand that you're trying to protect me. It can help us just step away from that thought. Just let that thought go a little bit and focus on what it is that we want to be able to focus on. Now, other things that you can do is question the thoughts that pop up. So if you have a thought related to not being good enough, you can ask yourself, what's the evidence for and against that thought? Is that this thought helpful or unhelpful? Can I know that this thought is 100% true? How does this thought make me think, feel and behave? How would I think, feel and behave if I didn't have this thought? And yeah, kind of rather than listening to the thought and taking it as true and then listening to all the other thoughts that come with that initial thought, step away from it and question it. Another really nice thing to do is to take your thought that's probably a negative thought and change it to the positive. So for example, if you have the thought, what if my presentation doesn't go well? Play the thought, what if my presentation does go well? If you have the thought, I'm not a good enough mother, play the thought, I am a good enough mother. And just observe how adding in those positive thoughts makes you feel. Another thing to be aware of is how having this negative self-talk makes us feel. So if you imagine that it's not you saying this to yourself, but if you imagine it's somebody else standing in front of you saying it, and you may have experienced this at some point of your life, how would it or how does it feel if it's somebody else saying these things to you? If it's somebody else saying you're not good enough, you're a failure, everything's going to go wrong for you. Even me saying it out loud, then I kind of notice my heart racing a little bit faster. When we hear these things, even when we say these things to ourselves, it activates our threat system. So it puts us into kind of fight or flight mode, ready for danger. If we hear kind and compassionate things, you're doing a great job, you are good enough, your presentation might go really well, that makes us feel more relaxed. It activates our soothing system. It activates rest and digest, and when we're in a state of calm, the brain works in the way that we want it to work. We're able to focus. We just feel a whole lot better. So we're not trying to get rid of those worry-based thoughts, because that's the brain kind of working in the way that it should be, but adding in other thoughts. And maybe in time you can kind of create a little habit where You're listening to the positive thoughts rather than the negative thoughts so much. A really lovely thing to do is to finish the day with your positive thoughts in your mind. So at the end of every day, maybe writing down all of the things that you're pleased with yourself for. So it could be anything from, I cooked a lovely meal for myself, I woke up before my alarm, I had a great workout, I had a beautiful connection with my partner or my child. If we finish the day spending time with the positive thoughts and letting that be there, then it can just be it can help us sleep better, and it just can feel lovely. So give that a go. I hope you found that useful, and take good care.